In this week's video, I'm talking about wildlife photography and, I suppose, a little bit about this Fujifilm 100 to 400mm telephoto lens. Now, it's at this point that I would usually show you all the photos that I'm going to be taking to try and hook you in, make it seem a little bit exciting. But I haven't really had a whole lot of luck. And that is kind of the point of wildlife photography. That's what I'm going to explain. So I haven't really had a lot of luck with my wildlife photography. I've been testing this Fujifilm X-T4 for CNET, and it came with this massive 100 to 400mm lens. It's a big boy, as you can see, and I think it's the equivalent of about a 600mm lens on this crop sensor camera, which is immense. On my last wildlife photography video, I was photographing otters up in a loch just outside of Edinburgh, and I was using my 200mm lens, and 200mm just is not big enough for proper wildlife photography. If you're in the market for a lens for wildlife, you need to be looking really at 400mm plus. So this being able to go up to about 600 is spot on. And there are some other reasons why I like this lens too. It looks pretty big, but actually it's not a lot bigger than my 70 to 200 f2.8 lens, but also the image stabilization is so good that even at full zoom, I can hand hold and film video. Like, it looks incredible, it looks like it's stabilized, it looks like it's on a tripod. Really, really very impressed with this setup right here. Unfortunately, it's not mine, it's just on loan. It's going to have to go back. But with this setup, I thought, cool, okay, here's an opportunity to go out and try and get some really, really cool wildlife shots and talk all about how I would go about getting them. The problem is that I haven't really seen that much wildlife that I really want to photograph. The other day, I got up before sunrise and I hiked across town, and I went up to that same lake where I photographed the otter before. I wanted to try and use this lens to get even better shots and really show it off. And I didn't get anything. I got up at 5 AM and I hiked. I had a kit bag full of gear and I didn't even see the otter once. In fact, I didn't even take the camera out of my bag. So was I disappointed? Well, sure, in the sense that I really wanted to get some cool photos and I really wanted to show off this lens and I wanted to do this video. But it was not a wasted trip, because let's put aside the fact that I'd hauled a big kit bag full of gear all that way in the crack of dawn. What I'd actually had is a lovely walk to a beautiful spot. I sat on a bench for a couple of hours. I watched the sun rise over this lovely lake. I had a flask of coffee. I remembered that what I love about photography is going out and being in nature, being in those beautiful, peaceful, serene surroundings and just taking it all in. It's not just about the photos you get, it's about that amazing experience of going out and getting them. And that really is the case for most wildlife photography or landscape photography. In order to get those shots, you have to be out in nature. You have to be out there appreciating all of this amazing natural beauty around you. So even if you don't come back with stellar award-winning images, you still have that experience of being out there, and that is so important. So I think it's crucial to not have too many expectations of always getting the shot, but just to go and enjoy the process, enjoy that feeling of being out there. But I have tried to get some other shots with this. I've been up and down the Water of Leith, I've been up to the coast, and I've tried to keep my eye out for anything else which I think would make for a really nice subject. Sometimes that has been sitting here on my balcony, looking out at some of the trees, and sometimes it has been kind of walking just around some of the more green spaces in Edinburgh, just trying to see if anything shows up. And I have seen a couple of things that I have liked, and I've got a few what I would maybe just consider decent enough snaps. A couple of things in winter when we had the snow coming down, a couple more on the trees out here, and even just sometimes it was a squirrel that just happened to look kind of cute and fluffy, so I got a nice snap. But nothing that I would put forward for awards, and probably nothing that I would include in my portfolio, because really they're just fairly typical garden birds. Really nice to see, nice to practice, nice to use the lens. Nothing that you really think, wow, that is one hell of a shot. One of the things that really did catch my eye though is that I was walking down the Water of Leith, down to an area that's very common, I've been to many, many times, and I actually saw two birds of prey in the trees, two buzzards, I think. This was absolutely incredible. I've never seen those birds around here before, and they were just there in the middle of the day in the trees. Now, I really tried hard to get a photo. I tried to move around. I used the zoom on this, but unfortunately, they were quite high up in the trees, so it really didn't lend itself to a good photo. They were also quite obscured by a lot of the other branches, so as a result, I just couldn't get the shot I want. I've been back a few times, haven't seen them again, so it's really looking like maybe they were just going through, doing a bit of sightseeing themselves, so I don't think I'm going to necessarily be able to get a shot like that again. But still, am I disappointed? Well, no, not really, because sure, I didn't get a great shot. I got a little bit of footage to prove their existence, but fundamentally it was just so great to be there and to see them. Like, that was what was so magical for me, was to be able to just have that experience of seeing them there. I suppose I'm not really speaking as a photographer there, because the photographer in me wants to get that great photo, wants to have something that I can share and go, wow, look at this, but I think we can get too bogged down in always needing to get that great shot, and you can forget sometimes why it is that you wanted to get the photo in the first place, and that reason usually is because you wanted to appreciate this something beautiful in front of you. Because I'm not a professional wildlife photographer. I am a professional photographer who sometimes takes photos of wildlife. But even I know that wildlife photography at its heart really is a numbers game. You can go out once, twice, 10 times, 20 times and still see absolutely nothing. Going out more often will increase your chances of seeing a thing, but it's not going to guarantee it. If you're the sort of photographer that is really driven by getting great results every single time you take your camera out, then wildlife photography is not the genre for you. And sometimes that is me. I do like to come away from every shoot with at least a couple of photos that I'm really proud of, and unfortunately I just don't really think I have done with this, which is annoying because I needed to test it to write about it. I even took it to Edinburgh Zoo just to kind of give that zoom a little bit of a test, try out the stability a bit more, and I got a couple of photos that might look kind of cool, but let's not pretend. Zoo photography is not wildlife photography. That is not wildlife, those are captive animals, that is not the same thing. There is of course a huge amount of luck involved, and you may find that you go out one time to look for one animal and you see it straight away and you get the most beautiful photo. If you are that sort of person, then may I also suggest buying a lottery ticket, because, well, you never know. You might get lucky there too. But for most of us, it is just about that perseverance. It's about packing your kit bag and going out again and again and again, hoping for that shot, trying in different conditions and battling against that voice in your head which is telling you, actually no, let's just stay home and have a cup of tea instead. Because eventually, with enough patience, with enough perseverance and with enough luck, you will get that shot that you want. And that is exactly why I am still on my balcony, still pointing this lens at the trees across here, even though the light is starting to fade. Because in time, I do hope that I will succeed in getting something a little bit better, but it will have to be pretty quick because DHL are picking this lens up tomorrow. But I do hope this video has been helpful. I suppose it hasn't really been a video about wildlife photography. It has not been a tips and tricks video. It has been much more just about the importance of perseverance and how not to be frustrated even if you've gone to try and get the same photo 20 times, which I suppose is important for most genres of photography, because you're probably not going to succeed every time you press the shutter button. But if you have enjoyed this video, do please hit that like button, subscribe to my channel if you don't already, and I will see you next time.